now it's time to bring this guy together per my promise. And we're going to turn off groups. It's still going to keep groups, I think, to a certain degree. So watch these. Oh, yeah, I already turned it on. I did it. Sometimes I get a little ahead of myself, but see how those are now blended together. Cool, but it's a seamless mesh now. So that's what I want for this part of the journey. But now it's doing some weird things too, because we have our auto masking set to polygroups. It could be an advantage, you know, come time I work on the fingers, I might want to turn it back on, like I said, but for now, we just want to work with this as if it's just one nice seamless mesh, except for the head pieces. Just going through and smoothing some areas, creating that blend. So at this point, I'm planning on doing a ZRemesher on the whole model. So the key right now is to just get things in the right shape. Basically, we're not trying and smooth and as possible, but not putting in any fine details, which, you know, this, you know, particular character isn't really meant to have those kind of details anyways. And things were kind of hard to see with that last material, so I switched over to this gray material here. And if things aren't smoothing as quickly as you'd like, while you're holding down smooth, hit this smooth right here, smooth stronger, and that'll really knock stuff down quickly. But at this level of Dynamesh, this density of topology or whatever, this regular smooth is working just fine for me. Okay, so this is the time when we get the general shape of the hand, the arm, the way the fingers, you know, are linked to the hand. I'm using the plus and minus button down here to subtract away from the model, dig into it, carve in, as well as smooth and then build up. Play with the different brush sizes, you know, if you want things to be generally more smooth and handle a bigger swath of an area, it only makes sense that you'd want to use a bigger brush, I think, right? So I'm on a fairly big brush now. I'm not going to get things glass smooth at this point, you know, because it is a pretty high density model, and I want to do that a different way later with ZRemesher. Sometimes your guy will jump off the screen and you'll lose him, and you can always use, like, let's say he jumped off the screen and I'm not sure where he's at, I can hit this and then it will fit him back into the view of the screen, in case you weren't aware of that. Comes in handy. Had a panic moment for a second there. I thought I forgot to record. Again, had to step away. You know, the watch tells me got to get up every once in a while. Not be completely 100% sedentary. Ridden, you know, desk ridden or whatever. Chair ridden. And I don't mean to make light of that for people that, you know, are in that situation. So building up, smoothing, getting these general forms, because that'll make things better come retopology time. You know, good little elbow guy in there for good measure, more to help me visualize where it's going to be. It may not actually be very visible in the final. Oh man, getting quiet. Getting quiet. It's almost 1:30. I haven't eaten anything today. Just had a couple diet cherry Pepsis. But, you know, there was a time when that would be called, you know, maybe you'd get accused of having an eating disorder. Now we can just call it intermittent fasting, right? And trust me, folks, I'm eating real good. I'm doing just fine. I've eaten 2-3 years in advance for myself, so I can skip a meal or two here and there and not even faze me. And again, that's the type of thing that ZBrush does to a guy or a gal or another life form, humanoid, who might be using this app. That's not to say you have to be humanoid to use this app. I'm sure there's some non-humanoid creatures out there, maybe not in this world, but in others that could use this just fine. Kind of squid creature with all kinds of digits to hold the Apple Pencil and do the digit gymnastics, because I can't just call it finger gymnastics anymore if we're including, you know, other life forms. All right, I'm getting weird. I apologize. So, you know, I'm kind of keeping that line for the underwear, but I think ultimately we'll probably extract that later to get a nice sharp, you know, line there as opposed to sculpting it in. But there's different ways you can do it. And I honestly haven't made up my mind for sure. It's been a while since I've 3D printed something on my resin 3D printer. Maybe this is the guy that I'll do next. And maybe we'll do another video. Won't necessarily call it a part 2 or a part 3 or anything, but on, you know, taking your models from ZBrush on the iPad into, you know, a 3D slicing program and getting it ready for 3D print. Let me know if that's something y'all are interested in, assuming you're still watching this thing. .3D printing, so cool. One of those things, it's hard to believe that didn't exist at one time. And now, you know, it's been around for over a decade, like in mainstream. I got my first 3D printer, I think the end of 2014, Christmas 2014 or something like that. And then I remember everybody making a big deal, like 2015 is the year of 3D printers. Like, that's when it's going to blow up. And it was a big year. I think I got my second 3D printer that year, under the guise of it being a work printer, because I had the business at the time purchase it that I was working for. And that was before resin printing was really even a thing. I mean, I'm sure they were doing it. Well, yeah, I think I was seeing some crazy Kickstarter theory stuff. But, and then the big boys probably had a process. But most 3D printing was still out of reach, and you know, had no choice but to go to a Shapeways or some other online place. You couldn't get a nice 3D printer for a couple $100 like you can today. You know, I mean, like literally get a resin printer for under $200. It's ridiculous and wonderful at the same time. Ridiculous and wonderful. Watch out, he might break into song again. All right. This body's feeling pretty smooth. Getting to a place where, you know, I think the fingers and the boots are areas that still need more detail before we move into ZRemesher retopology stuff. See, I lost that. I'm going to go into solo mode so I can get some of this area underneath the head. Okay, let's bring the head back, just make sure it still works. Yep, okay. Let's spend a little bit more time with these fingers, shall we? So, first off, looking at my example model, I can see that they're pretty close to the right dimensions and size. The thumb feels a little undersized. It needs to be a little fatter. Okay. This area is a little thick. It should taper down in a little bit more. Again, this isn't anatomically correct, but it's anatomically inspired. So we do want to create little things that nod to our real anatomy, like the fact that the inside of our hand, our palm, is cupped a little bit. And these fingers are fairly small, spread apart, so I'm not having to worry about auto masking as much. So I thought I might turn that back on, but so far so good. Oh. Gonna make the thumb feel a little beefier at the base. Stretch them out a little bit. Give them some squaring off. And trim dynamics, great for that. Just kind of hitting the edges. Make it bigger, hit the tops. Switch into move, grab mode. There. Now that the thumb's bigger, these fingers feel like they gotta be a little bigger. But that's okay. Constantly moving around the model, looking at it, trying to decide if it's true to our reference. Alrighty. Cool. I think those hands are in a good place now. Now onto the boots. Couple things I could do here. Let's hit the bottom of those boys with a good polish brush. Lightly big swoops. Let's flatten those out pretty good. If you wanted them perfectly flat, we could use the knife tool and slice it, but I don't want to do that. Let's use the damn standard brush and carve in a little area sure our auto masking is off, yeah. Am I not seeing? Oh, I thought I hit the damn standard brush, but I didn't get it. We were still on polish, so I wasn't seeing much happen. But I'm just trying to define an area where the top of the foot meets the bottom of the shin. And then I want to use trim dynamic, and maybe I'll switch over to clay buildup, but to try to knock down the top of the foot a little bit. I don't want quite as smooth of a transition. Yeah. That's heading in the right direction. Dynamically trimming. And what's nice is that's starting to define the front tip of the boot as well. You might smooth a little bit, hit it some more. And this is a brush that I used to really struggle with because it seemed so unpredictable for some reason to me. Maybe I was trying to use it at the wrong times or something, or I was just expecting a different result, but after playing with it more over the past couple years, I've started to find it very predictable and very good to work with and all that stuff. So keep on ZBrushing, trying the different brushes. You know, we all find our favorites and stick to those for the most part, but not a bad idea to try some other tools every once in a while, and that may be one of the reasons why you're watching this video, right? Because maybe you have used ZBrush for a while and you're just looking to see someone else's process, and that's definitely how I've done most of my learning, if not all of it, with ZBrush, is watching other people's processes and adopting stuff that makes sense. So now I'm getting an interesting problem. See how his upper body's blocking the bottom part? What you can do there is grab these two and just draw a selection. There we go. So now we've hidden part of that model, and this can now be seen better, and I can move, these areas that used to be obstructed by the luchador's chest and body in general. Again, my drawing that I created for this didn't have a back drawing, so kind of deciding what that looks like on the fly. But and then we have this edge that's been started with the trim dynamic, but to kind of accentuate it, do a couple things. We can do dam standard and invert it by holding down the plus button and just kind of drawing across that edge to make it more pronounced. And this is mostly just because when I go to do the ZRemesher, I want it to see that that's, pronounced area that I don't want just smoothly clumped into everything else. I want it to create some geometry that'll help reinforce that edge. So that's one way to help, is by defining it with some of these tools, dam standard, and then I'm going to use the pinch brush, run that over there to that edge to kind of squeeze it together. Okay, and then you could even do that on the bottom edge as well, just to make that more pronounced. Be careful of the size of your pinch brush, or it'll start moving polygons from that top edge and eroding the quality of that edge. So we're just rubbing the pinch brush along here to tighten things up. Yo. Alrighty. And as I make changes there, I can look at it from this perspective and use my move topology to kind of move things around, get that boot shape I'm looking for. And then I might use polish to hit these edges with, make them that much cleaner. And depending on your need, you can just finish the model using this process, where you're going around tightening edges using the hard surface brushes, H-polish, trim dynamic, you know, slicing with the knife tool, different things, and be good to go. But, you know, that'll work great for 3D printing if that's your ultimate destination. But if you want it to be a character that maybe you're going to animate, then you're going to want to stick around as I move on to ZRemeshing. Okay, so I'm happy with this overall shapes and where things are going. I'm gonna turn off solo. So let's go ahead and try the ZRemesher and see how close we get. I like to be in polygon view mode when I'm doing this. We're in ZRemesher, target polygon count. I'm going to turn it up to like 12, 15 range. Hit ZRemesher. Might want to check some of these options. Like detect edges sometimes helps. We don't have any curves in here, but if it's not doing what I want, then I might have to use some curves. So hit ZRemesher and let's see what happens. So I'm mostly worried about the boots and the fingers. And fingers seem to be okay. The boots are okay, but could be better. So at this point, it's still pretty high poly count, and that was because I used the slider to make it pretty high. But I'm gonna help guide it a little better, and we're gonna grab a different brush here. Let's just go to all, and then way down to the bottom, ZRemesher. Okay, so these are our curves. We're still on mirror. And what we can do is just draw curves around our model to help tell ZRemesher where we want it to put stuff. And you know, unlike some of the other curve brushes, I don't know that you can really move it around. So if you make a mistake, you kind of just have to undo it and start again. There we go. So a little smoother. Then I'll go to this part under here. Do the same type of thing. I'm being careful not to run into the other curve line because then it's gonna join it together, do some weird stuff. Oh, see it already kind of snap to some of that. Yeah, right here too. So I might have to turn my brush down to let it know that don't want it doing that. Okay, so see now it's a tighter mesh there. Whoops, we lost it. Not super clean, but I think it's fairly forgiving. So, and you do this as much or as little. I'm gonna throw one in right there. You know, there's this area around the tops of the legs that are important to keep a poly loop around. Let's get a poly loop going around this. Oh, some weirdness there. Smaller chunks. Poly loop around here. Okay. Let's get one around the wrist. And see how this doubled back on itself? I'm gonna not worry about that and see what it does. The fingers, I gotta be a little more intentional and careful about because I want those to definitely have poly loops around there. Okay. And then it's not just poly loops. You could go like this to tell it, yeah, keep the direction going along the finger here. You can get as detailed or as not detailed as you want. But this is kind of the most modern way to do retopology in ZBrush now. Is to get the ZRemesher to do what you want as opposed to having to draw every little individual thing. And I've created some craziness with that one. I got a little too careless. Whoops. If I just tap somewhere, it deletes the entire set of curves, so being careful of that. Well, that one got away from me a little bit. All right, and you can see on the foot at the bottom, I didn't complete that all the way. That's okay, it's not as critical. This area under the chest would be nice to have that. And now I'm hitting the symmetry line, so we only have to come halfway. Maybe another one right here. Just kind of help that link around the back, like so. You know, we've got this area up here just so it knows that we want a loop there as well. So this is more than I usually do, but I'm just showing you the process. So now back to ZRemesher. And target poly count, I'm going to do half of what we had before. I want to turn on polygon view so I can see what's going on a little better. Turn off adapt. It's got the curve strengths. I want to turn that maybe up to 70. Detect edges, yes or no. I think we're good either way. We'll leave it for now. Then hit ZRemesh. And it said it's using 25 curves. It's probably actually faster because it's like, I kind of know what this guy wants because he's given me some guidance. So these fingers, they have poly loops around the bases. It looks like the arm has poly loops, heading in the right direction. It's still much higher poly count than I think I want. So I'm going to undo that, although it did work pretty good. And turn off half, and I'm just going to bring this down to 5, which is the default. Just bump up the curve strength to like 85. Hit ZRemesh. Let's see how this goes. Okay, that is less, looking good, but it doesn't seem like much less than what we just had. I guess I could be looking at the number. Let's take it down half and see what happens. Boom. I don't know if it's still respecting the curves. I don't think so. See, things got a little janky up in the hands, maybe. In the end, it doesn't really matter for my purposes. So I'm going to say that's pretty good. We've got them basically where we want them. So there we go. And now you could divide that a few times and get it super smooth. Or if you want to keep it low poly, you can go into your menu, tool, geometry. And I thought this was gone, but it is here. Geometry, dynamic subdivision. And so that's kind of like a subdivision surface modifier in Blender. So that smooths it all out so you can see what it looks like smooth, and you can see we've got pretty tight little area where the boots are, so feeling pretty good about that. And the body is coming together. So we'll toggle that off. Again, just wanted to see where we were at. And this video getting long. These things always take longer than you think they're going to take. Okay, well, moving on. Let's do the same thing with the mask. So that's its own thing. For this one, it's got pretty sharp edges, so I'm not going to worry about doing any curves. So we're going to go ahead and keep groups. Turn off adapt. Turn the polygon size down a bit. Let's try that. All right, it's definitely looking good. We've got some nice poly loops. Well, nice is maybe not the case, but decent. Okay, let's try to have it and see what that looks like. All right, that may be a step too far. I don't know. Let's try to have it one more time just to get crazy. Just to get crazy. Okay, see, that's a step too far for sure. Let's solo it. See, we almost lost our holes almost completely. So we'll undo that and we'll make this one work. Go ahead and solo it for now, and my little subtool here, or excuse me, my little poly group, which gave me these edges, kind of served its purpose, so we're going to get rid of that now. So we're just going to select, whoops, just going to select this poly group, Then we're going to go to geometry, modify topology, delete hidden. So it is now just single polygon thickness mask. And using the move tool here, I'm just going to open these up a little bit so I can have some area to work with again. Siri, getting in my way. Nothing, Siri. All right, let's unsolo it. So we've got this fairly simplified mask going on now, which is great because it's going to look super smooth. Just moving the topology around how I want it. Yeah, it's coming together. Smooth areas down a little bit. Just get a little closer to the head. And I can see that this is coming a little too far away. I'm gonna visualize this a little differently so I can see the other sign. Display properties double, so now I can see both sides of the polygon, which is helpful. My brightness on, it's pretty bright. All right. So I had to step away for a few days before I finished this guy. So consider this a reminder of what it is we're working on. And jump back into ZBrush. I've got the source material up on a separate monitor. And where we left off was with the mask. We had just retopologized that. And that was to give us a, some smoother edges and all of that. So now I want to try a couple things. Let's go to geometry, dynamic subdivision. Okay, so that's smoothing everything out. It's also rounded out some edges, maybe a little bit more than I wanted it to, but that's part of the game. That is okay, we'll work around it. While it's in dynamic subdivision mode, which is like subdivision surface and subdivision surface modifier in Blender, then you can still manipulate the geometry below it and just kind of tighten that up. I think it worked out pretty well. So that's that area. Now we'll just adjust the boundaries here around the eyes. And then, it's only one polygon thick right now. So let's add thick skin to this. Did we do it? Huh. For some reason it's not working. Maybe it's because there's a combination of subdivision surface and thick skin. Huh. Because I did this thick skin in another tutorial and it worked great, I thought. Okay. Well, we'll have to look into that. That is okay. There are definitely other ways to do that when the time comes. Just want to make sure his mask is covering all the areas that it's supposed to. Maybe I'm over obsessing here. And again, this is one of the advantages to the low poly from the subdivision, or excuse me, the ZRemesher, the retopology process, is I can move stuff around and it looks super smooth while also being, easy to move around. All right. We have played with this enough. There we go. I want to see those handles for the actual mesh that you're pulling around. Turn on your poly view mode there. I really got to find out the real name for that mode. Huh. Why is it not? There we go. Wasn't really moving for a moment. And I'm obviously not going to get that perfect exactly how I want it, so I don't know why I keep futzing with it. It's just driving me a little crazy, that's all. you know, and it has to do with the way the topology is there. It comes to a point and has these pieces pulling on it, which is unfortunate. Yeah, really wish we had ZModeler right now. Fix that right up. Okay, well, I could just apply, and now it's got all that geometry baked in. Now I can fix it. But now I don't want to make any major changes to the shape because it's locked in. It's going to be a lot harder to smooth and all that. So those are the trade-offs. What do we do? Okay. We've got the body to work on a little bit here. So we've retopologize that with ZRemesher. We'll turn on dynamic subdivision so we can see just how smooth that guy can look. And he is smooth. And I'm looking at my reference. I think he looks pretty good. And so at this point, I'm going to go ahead. Do I want to? Maybe yes. Well, let's wait just a minute. Let's get some of these pieces in place first. So if I go to subtools, I'm going to make the gloves and the underwear and the boots. So to do that, I'm going to duplicate this guy. So now he's got his own thing going on. So let's add some color just so we can see what's going on. So I'm going to click the little paintbrushes on both of these, and I'm going to pick his body color basically. And it's not affecting these because they're kind of frozen on white right now because I clicked that color swatch. So we'll say that's the color of his skin. And with that one selected, I can, well, first I got to make sure I'm on the right mode. So we would just want to be on RGB. Okay. And then fill the object. So now that's that color. And now if we hide that and go to this one, this is going to be his boots and gloves and underwear. So we want that to be light blue. Again, we're getting the preview here. That's close enough. Fill object. Okay. Now if we unhide this other one, they're right on top of each other. So it's kind of like whichever one we have selected is what it's going to show us. We got that. Let's get rid of the areas that aren't going to be the glove and the boots and stuff. Yeah, that was a pretty clean cut. First try. Love it when things just work out the way they're supposed to. Oh man. Luchador. El Magnifico. I apologize. I'm not good with my Spanish. We've got a piece that's missing there. Whoop. Now it's back to where it's supposed to be. Good job. Oh, now we've got some stuff we don't want. Okay, looks good. Get rid of some of this area. Boots are super close here. Oh, we lost one piece. Let's get that back, shall we? He's back. We gotta get rid of these pieces. You can see kind of the finger gymnastics I'm doing over here with my left hand to make this work. Oh. Oh man. Getting close. Might have gone one too far. Indeed we did. Whoops. And we're constantly checking the front, make sure didn't have any unintended consequences. Sweet. So now we can go to geometry and scroll on down to modify topology, delete hidden. Now it is hidden. Let's see if thick skin decides to work on this. No, still not working. What am I doing wrong here? I'm sure there's just some setting that I have wrong. Huh, and when I release, it just snaps back to where it was, but alas, that's okay. So, instead of thick skin, we're going to do it the extract way. Got to make sure he's fully unmasked. Okay. Let's try this again. Let's see, the active mesh is fully unmasked. Would you like to? Oh, okay. Yes, there we go. And that is way too thick. Bring that down. Let's try that. It's a little too thin. Got to find that Goldilocks zone. We don't want to double it. Extract, that's looking pretty good. Gonna accept it. So it created a new subtool. So I'm gonna delete this one. So now there's our gloves and underwear and boots. Looking all fabulous. go to the mask here and let's give him a color. Fill the object. Go to all of these pieces and get them colored right. That's gonna be super satisfying to see stuff start to take shape, and see by filling object it automatically added that paintbrush. Get the nose, and we're going to grab the body color here, fill the object of the nose, the head, unmask that. Is the eye part of the head? Yeah. All right, so we probably want to split those, so split to similar parts. Okay. Good. Let's go ahead and fill that. So these eyes, that should be the whites of the eyes, are part of the same subtool, so obviously they're going to stay. Let's make those black. What? Oh, we didn't fill the object, I guess, for the... No? Says we did, okay. Just a little glitch. That makes me think we've got double heads in here. Yep. Sure do. Well, ain't that sneaky. Delete that boy. Alright, that makes more sense. Well, I lost my pupils. That was part of that one, maybe. Alright, well, that's not the end of the world. Because you can't undo the delete. Let's fill this object. Just make sure, yeah, the pupils are not part of that. So, to get the pupils back, we've got to duplicate this. And we want to be on local symmetry mode. I'm going to grab our gizmo, go to the origin. It's at the origin. For some reason, my settings got messed up again. I think maybe every time ZBrush does a refresh or something. Tap to exit gizmo. No, don't want to do that. See, now it stays. Good. Oh. Not oriented quite right. We'll do that. We'll bring it out. Make it white. And then we'll fill the object. Okay. And then we're going to scale it down. Oh. Did the naughty thing. Again, I think it's because of dynamic. So let's try. There we go. Now it's acting as it should. I'm looking at my reference, moving this guy where I want it. Okay. He's good. Let's make these eyebrows black. Fill the object. Good, good. go back to the body, and I'm going to make it dynamic subdivision. Smooth it out. Now, if I do that on the gloves and everything, I think it might be too much. I don't know that it's going to look quite right. Let's see. Oh, worked better than I thought. Must be some of these settings here. Or maybe they have creased edges or something. Yep, they sure do. So that's why they're staying so tight. Because if I were to uncrease those edges, I'm going to lose that tight edge. So I don't know that we want to do that, but let's just do it for experimental purposes. Uncrease all. Okay. Yeah, didn't do it too much, so I think I like that. We'll keep it. Okay. And then here's where we can move around the positioning of the underwear. Now, it would have been better if this was thicken. I wouldn't have an inside and an outside to worry about. But it seems to be behaving okay. At least it's a lower subdivision surface here. Jack it up on the edges. I'm using a larger brush size is going to help keep things together a bit more because you're grabbing more of it. Self-explanatory stuff, I'm sure, but hey, I gotta talk to people as if this is their first rodeo, because it might be. Sure it's tight enough to the body. It's sinking in a little bit. Kind of flaring out on the thighs. He's got a bit of a small gut, so pushes the front down. Oh yeah. He is ready for the ring, just about, this guy. And then here's where we can kind of shape the boots a bit more. So they're not just looking like socks. I hope y'all are having as much fun as I am.